What's up, folks? Sean the Average Angler coming at you with another kick-ass video. We got a good one today because we're talking jigs, baby. All right, who wants to learn to fish jigs? I want to go in depth here so you guys really kind of understand a little bit about this, or not a little bit. I want you to kind of know what's going on. So we're going to break it into two parts, okay? We're going to do shallow water jigs. We're going to do deeper offshore style jig. Now, just because I say deeper doesn't mean we're really talking all that deep. It could be 10, 12 feet. It could be 40, 45 to 60 feet, okay? I fish all those ranges, but it really depends on where you're at, the depth of your lake, how your fish act, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of it has to do with how deep the bait goes. So if you're new to the channel, you like this kind of content, hit the subscribe button down there. I need your all's help. We are 105 subscribers away from doing the big tackle giveaway. I'd really love to give this stuff away at the beginning of December, folks. And it's not junk, okay? We got Citizens in here. We've got Flag 170s in here. We've got Nessies. We've got Whopper Poppers, we've got Jigs, we got Duo Realis, grip baits, and this is just the beginning, okay? So, you gotta be a subscriber to win. I think I'm gonna split it into two, but enough of that. So we're talking jigs, we're talking offshore stuff. Now this doesn't have to be out in the middle of the lake. You could have some features in maybe as little as 12 foot of water a lot of times. Could be a little rock pile. It could be a drop-off, right? Where it goes 10 to 12 feet. Any kind of edge. I really like edges this time of year. I just find edges to be excellent for holding fish in the wintertime. And today we're having a peachy little thing IPA. It's actually very, very good. It's a hazy. If you like hazies, I love these. The peachies they're good. Very, very good. Okay, so what are we going to need to do this? Okay, typically, and I say typically because there's always that scenario or situation where different weight works. But for the most part, I'm 1/2 ounce to 3/4, really kind of just depending on the fish's mood. I generally fish these jigs pretty aggressive, but I'm going to give you a couple different ways to fish them because there's times where aggressive doesn't work. And I know that. I know what I do to change it. I'm going to share it with you because it can make a difference between you catching and not catching. And one of the biggest things about jig fishing that I think a lot of people have a hard time with is they struggle to get bit and then they lose confidence and they don't throw it anymore. Now, I pretty much have a jig rigged year round, okay? Just to be perfectly honest with you. I love Tyler Williams. I love the fact that he goes out there and he freaking fishes a jig everywhere he goes. For those that don't know him, he's a very successful Elite Series pro who I think just finished his 2nd year. Anyway, this Dobyns 3-pack, okay? I got these off of Amazon. They got a great hook in them. It's a Gamakatsu hook. I'm getting them for $5 or $6 for 3 of them. So these are really good quality jigs, actually. They're hand-tied, and they're a value for guys that are learning how to fish them. Now, I want to show you a few tricks. Had to grab another pack because that one is out of the giveaway box, actually, and I don't want to be hacking up someone else's jigs. But there's several ways to do it. I just like to, number one, this one's not too far past the hook. I like to cut some thickness out of it, okay? So I'm just going to kind of, make it look like the dang thing went to supercuts, It's kind of like a hack job. I just find in the wintertime, it's kind of like that crankbait that you've had for so long that just keeps getting bit. And this is going to do a few things for us, okay? Number one, it's just kind of taking a little bit away from the profile. Number two is when you put that trailer on there, it's going to highlight the trailer a little more. It's going to be able to see through all that skirt. That skirt's really good at times. I like the little puffball type look here in the front, shorter strands. We took about half that skirt out. Now it's all over my desk here, but that's all right. And then my number one trailer, and I'm going to give you a couple alternatives here, is this here. And that is a Fat Pack Baits Beasty Bug, and this is a 3.8. Okay, if you need to go down to the smaller size, the Beasty Bug Jr, same bait, it's an inch smaller. This works really, really well on like your Keitech jigs, those kinds of things, your little tiny finesse jigs. Now this is what I call a finesse jig. It's just a little bit bigger finesse jig, okay? A little bit longer hook area. If I'm throwing the jewel peewee jigs, I still sometimes use the 3.8. I'll just trim it down. I like something about the big claws. It seems to be getting bit real well for me. But you can measure this, okay? And that's good. I don't want any skirt interfering with the claws. I want the claws to be able to move naturally. Okay, on this jig, I'd probably take it down about 2 little nubbin rings there, or a 1/2 of an inch. Looked pretty good to me. We'll string her on there and see what she looks like. Well, actually, we'll hold her up first. Yeah, that's pretty good. So the hook's gonna come out right back in here, just behind or on top of his head, before the snout area, if you will. And these Dobyns jigs, I mean, I'll tell you, for the price, they're very, very well thought out, okay? If you look here at the hook keeper, there's 4 prongs. You got these 2 big ones here, and then you got 2 smaller ones here. So it really holds the trailer on there really, really well. We're gonna slide that baby on up there, and there we go. Okay, we got a nice finesse jig. You'll see now that I have the trailer on, you'll see where I hack some of that skirt, right? It's got some pretty thin areas there, which is what I want. I really want to highlight the trailer. Now you can mix and match colors a lot here. I typically, this color, Alabama Craw, I tend to use either in clearer water or more often than not in the summertime and spring. Wintertime, and what's been working for me lately is this one, which is June Bug Flash. Okay, and I'll put it on a brown and purple jig. I'll put it on a watermelon jig. I'll put it on a straight purple jig. And here is another one, actually, that has the red and black. Okay, it's called the Mad Hatter. Now, red and black can be a really, really good color if you have red crawdads in your body of water. And sometimes they just work anyway. You don't necessarily have to have those crawdads in there. Sometimes it's just a trigger for the fish. And you just need to experiment a little bit. Kind of like we've been talking about on some other videos. It's really a time to experiment. Fish aren't quite as aggressive. They're not just going to jump on any bait. Sometimes they want a specific bait because they're, you know, they're a little cuckoo. So I'm going to go with that 1/2 ounce more often than not. If I'm at Clear Lake, I'm going to go to the 3/4. If I can't get bit on the 3/4, then I'll downsize. I just like the really big jig at Clear Lake. I like to fish it aggressive. I like to pop it up. I'm moving it a lot. I'm popping it up, letting it drop, shaking it, doing all kinds of stuff with it. At a lot of other lakes, it's much simpler. And when that aggressive take isn't working, a lot of times it's just a straight drag. Just very simply drag it with your rod, side sweeping motion, nice and slow. Just feel it walking through those rocks, reel up the slack, start over again. Same thing, right? It's taking a break when you're reeling up the slack. We're letting it sit still then. We get the rod back to the other side. We're slowly sliding across again. If and when you get bit, not if, when you get bit, you want to put the rod tip back towards the jig, reel down to it, let the rod start to load and then set, okay? All right, so let's talk about gear because I do change a few things as we go towards the winter months. And mostly it is all based on the water temperature, okay? As it gets colder, I will start to downsize my line some. Now, typically I'm not gonna go under 15 most times a year. However, in the wintertime, I'll go down to 12, maybe even 10 sometimes, depending on where I'm at. If I'm on a spotted bass fishery, I may go down to 10, just because sometimes it'll get more bites. It's not because I think they see the line. Now this here is, that is 14-pound sniper, I believe. And here is another one of those jigs just for reference, and that is an alternate trailer I will tell you about in a minute. Now here's what I want to tell you about fishing the offshore jig. Number one, I think a lot of times people go to too heavy of a rod. Okay, you want a medium heavy. Okay, this one happens to be 7'3". Now, this rod in particular is an iRod Air 753C. Okay, it's a medium heavy, fast. It is iRod's top of the line bass fishing rod. Okay, it's got a great load to it. It's very, very sensitive. It's very light. It's got the nice reel nut there, so your hand's all protected up here. It balances very, very well. It casts the jigs very well. 1/2 ounce, 3/4, 3/8, doesn't matter. Casts them all very well. Now, when I first got this rod, I thought it might have been a wee bit light. And I have the heavy also. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a minute. If you can have multiples, like I do, I have 2 of each of these, okay? But if I was to have one, it would be the 753. Reason being, the rod's lighter because it's a little lighter action, so it doesn't weigh quite as much. So therefore, you're gonna feel a little better in your hand. Now the other one's just as sensitive, but just the nature of having a lighter setup, trust me, you're gonna feel a little bit better. Now, the other thing, I didn't think this rod could handle some of those bigger fish. It has no problem handle those bigger fish. You're gonna see some video this week, me with a 753, when I get done editing it, catching jig fish on it. It handles them no problem, okay? Even with the light line, and that's the thing, that 754, if I go down to 10-pound test, which like I said, I don't normally do it, but if I do, that 754 is gonna have a little too much oomph on the hook set, and I could risk breaking off. Okay, that 753's got a great load down the top half of the rod. When it hits that backbone, it locks up. I fish it all the way up to 18-pound test, 3/4 ounce jigs, and it's phenomenal. Now, the 754, if you're getting to really long casts and you need a little bit more oomph, and the way to get it is a little stiffer rod, by all means. And the 740 or 754 is going to show up when I start talking about our shallow water jig fishing, okay? So just something to keep in mind. I really like the 753 for offshore. It just casts so beautifully. It's very comfortable in hand. It's a little bit lighter because it's a lighter action rod. It's medium heavy versus a heavy. Both are fast action, okay? So the actions, the bends of the rod are very, very similar. The 753 is a beautiful rod. Now, here's what I'm gonna say about bottom contact baits, and maybe you've heard this before. If you're spending money on a rod or reel or trying to decide which ones you should spend more on and get something really sensitive, it is your bottom bouncing or bottom based baits. Reaction baits, you can feel the fish bite, okay? You're moving it. When it gets hit, it's pretty obvious. When you have a jig sitting on the bottom, or maybe it's a Texas rig or something else, you really need to be in touch with that. And look, most of the time when they hit a jig, I mean, that's one of the addicting things about jig fishing. They hit it. I mean, but pow, they hit it. They commit and hit it. But there are times where feeling some of those subtleties becomes important. And winter can be one of those times. Sometimes those fish will just pick that jig up and you won't feel them suck it in. So the ultra sensitive rod becomes very important, especially to me on the offshore stuff, because you really kind of want to get a good feel for what you're fishing through. If you don't see it with electronics, maybe you're a bank fisherman, it really pays to be able to feel the bottom content. Look, fish like rocks, okay? They're going to be around rocks. So when you find these areas, you want to put it in the memory bank and probably frequent those areas because you're going to catch fish on them. Maybe not every time, maybe not this time, but you will catch fish on them, all right? Okay, so we talked about the retrieves. I pretty much kind of shake my tip. This is my aggressive retrieve. I'll shake my tip while moving the rod, okay? I'm just kind of trying to get that thing quivering, get those claws moving a little bit. And when it starts to hang up, I'll pop it. Just give it a quick little short snap. Just make that jig jump up and come back down. And I will fish it like that, either through the cover if I have like a rock pile or a ledge or something like that, and then reel it back up and make another cast. The other one, basically, we'll call it the jig slide. We're just going to slide it across bottom. Reel up the slack, slide it across bottom. These techniques, depending on your trailer, can change things, okay? Now, I showed you, this is my alternate trailer, the Yamamoto Yama Craw. Okay, this is the bigger one. This is the 4-inch. The other one you saw on the jig is a 3.5-inch. I really like the 4. Now, the thing about the Yama Craw is it's very buoyant material. It'll literally stand a 5/8 ounce jig up in the air. Now, there's times you want that. And I definitely don't like the jig trailers that just lay on the bottom. Both jig trailers I showed you, that Fat Pack, another Buoyant trailer, okay? But this trailer does not stand the jig up. The claws will come up a little bit. So maybe think of it more like this angle as compared to this angle or this. This is a little bit more defensive and sometimes might keep the fish from biting. When they're aggressive, they're going to eat it. Okay, I like it when they're real aggressive. But when they're a little less aggressive, I really like this more kind of a in-between stance, if you will. And then these claws, because they have this, they got the ribs here, they will kind of slowly wave around, okay? So it looks like something alive moving around down there, kind of like fearing for his life, okay? I still like that. He's not necessarily in a big defensive posture. And the colors on the Fat Pack Beasty Bugs are much, much better, okay? Way better. I mean, you see, and these are just some of them, right? That June Bug Flash is absolutely an amazing color. You guys like June Bug, you need to check out the Fat Pack Baits June Bug Flash. And bonus, I got a code for you. I'll put it in the description. 20% off for Fat Pack Baits. All right, so there's an alternate trailer. Like I said, typically I'm not going to go under 15 pound. As we get towards the colder months and the fish start getting a little more finicky, I'll drop down the pound test, probably to about 12. I can go down to 10. Typically, that's my spotted bass line. I don't have spotted bass close enough to me that I go often enough, so I just will run that 12 for the most part. If I had a tournament, I would change the line out, okay? Now, don't buy into the hype of you need fluorocarbon, okay? Fluorocarbon's great. There's less stretch. I use the Ozuri Hybrid 15, which is more like 18. I use Berkeley Big Game 15. I don't have a problem getting bit on either, okay? It's very dependable line. It's inexpensive line. It works great, gets bit just fine, okay? The main thing, because those are copolymers and they stretch a little bit more, or in Big Game's case, it's just a monofilament. You just need to reel into the fish when you feel them bite till that rod starts to load, then set, okay? It's probably how we should fish bottom contact baits. Anyway, we don't need to quite swing for the fence to knock the fish's head off his body all the time. There's a time and a place for that, and we'll get to that when we're shallow water jig fishing, okay? This is offshore stuff. This is basic stuff you need, all right? Invest in your rod. Reel 7.1, 7.3 to 1. Generally good all-around speed reel for a lot of techniques. No exception here. If you really get into it or want to specialize, 8 to 1 is better because you can take up slack a little faster. And there's times where when you're jig fishing, you'll need to do that because the fish will slam it and knock a bunch of slack into the line, and they're coming at you. You need to catch up to them. So, but for now, if you don't have the reel, just get yourself a good rod. And there's a lot of different price points, guys. There's a lot of good rods out there in different price points. I'll just say for a bottom bouncing technique, it does pay to get something more sensitive. And there's all kinds of stuff. You know, I use iRod. There's Dobyns. There's Powell. There's Megabass if you want to spend a ton of money. I really don't think their mid-price stuff is all that great, to be honest with you. Matter of fact, I refer to it more as dead action than sensitive. What's the other one I was thinking of? Oh, if you really want to get into the cat's meow thing, it's really hard to beat something like a G Loomis NRX. Great warranty, all that stuff, but I know they're expensive. Shimano X Pride, fantastic. Okay, 7'2" to 7'5". I tend to like the 7.5s. I also find myself looking at 7.3s a lot. So get what's comfortable for you. That's really kind of the important part. And then just get out there and spend a little time with it. Use those jigs to feel around for what you're fishing in. Find some good spots to do it if you don't have electronics. And you'll know when you're around it because you'll feel the rock. If you have any questions, drop them below. I'm Sean the Average Angler. Make sure you hype that video if you're still here. I really appreciate it. Let's blow this thing up, all right? Sean the Average Angler. We'll see you on the next one.